We're diving into a trio of George Washington $quarter coins that are far more than just pocket change. They are treasured pieces of history, overlooked gems, and keys to unlocking a deeper appreciation for the artistry, rarity, and historical footprint that each coin carries. Let's dive into the top 3 George Washington quarters that could be hiding in your change jar. 1981 George Washington $quarter coin with mint mark D and fine condition. The 1981 George Washington quarter is a product of a time when the United States was approaching the end of an era in coinage. While no major metal composition changes had occurred yet, the economic and production landscapes were rapidly evolving. This coin emerged from the Denver Mint, a facility known for its high-output coin production and precision striking. The 1981 D quarter is struck in the standard copper-nickel clad composition that became the U.S. quarter's norm post-1965. Its core is composed of pure copper, while the outer layers are a copper-nickel alloy, giving it the silver appearance, but without the precious metal content. The coin features the classic portrait of George Washington on the obverse, originally sculpted by John Flanagan in 1932. This image remained unchanged for decades and holds historical significance as it was introduced during the bicentennial celebration of Washington's birth. In 1981, no dramatic design changes occurred, but the quality and condition of the dies, particularly at the Denver Mint, were noteworthy. Coins struck that year often exhibit sharper features than their Philadelphia counterparts, especially when found in better conditions. In terms of mintage, the 1981 D quarter saw production of over 575 million coins. That sounds like a massive number, and it is, but consider this: unlike earlier silver quarters, these clad coins were used heavily in circulation. That means a vast majority of these coins endured decades of wear and tear. Finding one in truly fine condition where Washington's hair details, the eagle's feathers on the reverse, and the rim are still pronounced, is increasingly rare. Most surviving examples are well worn, making fine condition coins more desirable. One of the reasons collectors gravitate to the 1981 D is due to its transitional context. It was one of the final years before the U.S. Mint faced coin shortages and began experimenting with mint mark visibility and distribution volumes, which occurred prominently in 1982 and 1983. As a result, many numismatists look back at 1981 as the last stable year of classic clad quarter minting. This historical context gives the 1981 D an elevated status among collectors, focusing on late 20th century coinage. Now let's talk value. While a circulated 1981 D quarter may only bring you face value at the bank, in the collector market, condition is everything. A quarter in fine condition can fetch between $5 to $12, depending on the sharpness of the strike and eye appeal. Move into extremely fine or almost uncirculated territory, and the value can jump into the $20 to $40 range. And for those rare specimens that make it to mint state grades, particularly MS65 or above, prices can soar to over $100. That may not sound like a fortune, but considering this was once pocket change, it's an excellent return and demand is growing, especially among registry set collectors and those completing year and mint mark runs. Another compelling element is the presence of minor errors. The 1981 D quarter has some interesting die varieties and striking errors. Among the most sought after are off-center strikes, clipped plankets, and double dies, though the latter is relatively uncommon for this year. An off-center strike that still shows the date and mint mark can command significant premiums, often upwards of $150 or more, depending on severity. Even coins with slightly misaligned dies are increasingly sought after as collectors begin to appreciate the quirks of mass production from this period. Perhaps the most underappreciated quality of the 1981 D is its collector appeal as a representative of a stable yet transitional era. It's a bridge coin, linking the mass production boom of the 70s with the economic uncertainty and production shifts of the 80s. For the numismatist who understands that coins are more than metal, they are historical artifacts, the 1981 D stands tall as a must-have in fine condition. Whether you're collecting quarters by year, mint, or condition, this coin rewards careful searching and dedicated collecting with surprising value and historical insight. 1980 George Washington $quarter coin with mint mark D and fine condition. The 1980 D quarter represents one of the most pivotal years in modern American coin collecting. It's not just a quarter, it's a signal flare, marking significant changes at the U.S. Mint, economic policy shifts, and a deepening interest from collectors in clad coinage that once seemed too common to warrant attention. Struck at the Denver Mint, the 1980 to D quarter shares its metallic composition with its immediate predecessor's copper-nickel clad over a pure copper core. Yet what distinguishes it from other quarters isn't what it's made of, but how it was made and, more importantly, what wasn't made. In 1982, the U.S. Mint, due to budget cuts and logistical shifts, stopped producing uncirculated mint sets for the general public. That decision would have a cascading effect on the availability and desirability of high-grade coins from that year. Without mint sets being issued, most 1982 quarters, including the 198-D, entered circulation immediately, and few were preserved in pristine condition by collectors at the time. As a result, today's supply of well-struck, high-grade 1980-D quarters is severely limited. The obverse retains the John Flanagan portrait of George Washington, as seen in prior years. The reverse showcases the heraldic eagle with wings outstretched, a powerful American emblem, and a hallmark of the Washington Quarter Series since its inception. But due to economic constraints and overused dies in 1982, many quarters from this year exhibit weaker strikes, less definition in the details, and planchet inconsistencies. That makes any coin in fine condition where these features remain sharp and legible a standout in today's market. The total mintage of the 1980 to D quarter reached approximately 480 million. While this is fewer than the 1981D, the key difference lies in preservation. Without collector sets, the vast majority of these coins have seen heavy circulation. This unique situation has created an imbalance, a high mintage coin that behaves like a low mintage rarity when condition is factored in. When discussing collector value, this imbalance comes into sharp focus. In circulated condition, a 198-D may not appear impressive, but in fine or very fine condition, its value can range from $7 to $18 depending on strike and surface preservation. In extremely fine or uncirculated condition, prices can escalate rapidly, often exceeding $50 and sometimes reaching $100 or more for MS63 to MS65 examples. PCGS and NGC certified pieces in top grades can attract significant auction interest, particularly when they possess full strike detail and clean surfaces. Collectors actively hunt for these coins, not just because they're scarce in high grades, but because they represent a cornerstone of modern U.S. coinage. Their scarcity is not due to low production, but due to collector neglect at the time, making every surviving gem a rediscovered treasure. In terms of errors, the 198-D does not disappoint. Known varieties include die cracks, off-center strikes, and most notably, missing clad layers. These planchet errors result in coins with a duller, copper-toned appearance that differs dramatically from standard clad quarters. A missing clad layer on the obverse or reverse side can increase a coin's value by hundreds of dollars depending on completeness and condition. Also of interest are weak strikes and die fatigue evidence, which, while technically mint flaws, serve as identifiers of an overworked mint operation during budget cuts. For variety collectors, these imperfections are numismatic gold. The collector community reveres the 1980-D quarter as a symbolic coin. It's not just about rarity, it's about narrative. This is a coin that tells the story of how economic decisions, production changes, and collector behavior all interact to shape rarity and value. It's one of the earliest examples of a clad coin achieving elevated status among specialists and general collectors alike. The fact that it came from a period of austerity only adds to its mystique. Today, anyone with a fine condition 1980-D quarter in their collection holds a piece of a numismatic puzzle that's still being solved. It's a reminder that even in the age of mass production, scarcity and value can emerge when you least expect it. 1979 George Washington quarter dollar coin without mint mark and normal condition. The 1979 quarter without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a time when the U.S. Mint was under significant strain to meet rising coin demands. While the nation wasn't undergoing any dramatic coinage transitions in terms of composition that year, subtle yet important shifts were underway in how collectors began viewing modern coins. This quarter marks the start of a subtle but growing trend in collector interest toward modern issues. The 1979 no mint mark quarter is technically the most common of the three discussed today, but that doesn't mean it's without value, intrigue, or significance. The coin features the standard copper-nickel clad composition. On the obverse, George Washington's profile remains prominent, flanked by the words Liberty and In God We Trust, with the date 1979 below. The reverse features the familiar eagle motif with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows, surrounded by olive branches. While the design is by now familiar to collectors and non-collectors alike, subtle differences in strike quality, planchette finish, and mint errors give this coin its character. Mintage figures for the 1979 Philadelphia quarter reach an astounding 515 million coins. However, what makes the 1979 no-mint mark quarter interesting is the Philadelphia Mint struggle with consistent strike quality during this era. Many examples feature weak obverses, worn reverse detail, and poor planchette luster. This means that coins with a sharp strike, full detail, and no distracting surface marks stand out far more than you might expect from such a common year. Coins in normal circulated condition may seem mundane, but even these have value to certain collectors, especially those working on typesets, birth year collections, or transition year studies. The market value of the 1979 no-mint mark quarter in normal condition typically hovers around face value, or just above. However, pieces that are clean, lightly circulated, and exhibit sharp detail can bring prices between $2 to $8, depending on the level of eye appeal. For higher-grade examples, especially those certified in the MS range, values begin to climb. Mint state specimens in MS63 to MS65 can command $20 to $60, and beyond that, values increase depending on registry competition. While the coin may seem common, collectors often seek the best example they can find, which adds pressure on supply for higher quality versions. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1979 Philadelphia quarter is the presence of striking errors and planchette defects. Examples include off-center strikes, die cracks, broad strikes, and even a few rare instances of double strikes or retained interior die breaks. These error coins turn what might be a humble piece into a highlight of a collection. The fact that these quarters were struck in such high numbers under industrial pressure means errors were both possible and somewhat frequent, making the hunt even more thrilling. Collectors interested in transitional years also keep a close eye on 1979 issues. It was a precursor to the economic and minting shifts that became fully evident in 1982 and 1983. It also marked an era where the U.S. Mint was refining its approach to automated processes, leading to subtle but collectible differences in die alignment, die wear, and strike pressure. In many ways, the 1979 quarter is a foundational modern coin, not the rarest, but the coin that helped set the stage for those that followed. It may be the coin you have in your pocket right now, but when viewed through the lens of numismatic study, it becomes much more. A coin that tells the story of a mint preparing for the future, of a nation in economic flux, and of collectors learning to find beauty in the everyday.